Alright guys, so before you start writing mean comments down below, let me actually explain why trunk-based development, aka pushing directly to master, can actually be good for you. So let's talk about trunk-based development. What is the main difference between the Git Flow, the original way of creating, for example, a branch, then creating a pull request from it, and then someone reviewing it and merging it to the main branch or the master branch, versus the trunk-based development where we're already encouraged to push to the main branch as soon as possible. And if we do create a branch for some reason, it might happen for different reasons, we make sure that it's short-lived. Short-lived means that we're encouraged to merge it as soon as possible, maybe within a day. This is preferable. Now, trunk-based development is actually the definition of continuous integration, because you don't have this overhead of creating a pull request. For example, every time we create a pull request, this is basically like an asynchronous operation like we have in many programming languages, right? And then you're literally waiting for a colleague to come and review it. And often these colleagues are senior, all right? Often these colleagues are senior, and sometimes there's some friction, let's say. These colleagues tell you that, hey, I don't like the way you did it. Can you please redo it? And this is totally fine. All right, we're keeping the code quality good. You go as a junior and you redo it, and then you ask your colleague again, and then you get another review, and maybe then you potentially merge it. Well, the problem here is that by the time this branch is being merged to the main branch, there has been done a lot of differences or a lot of commits on the main branch, and now your branch has either diverged, and you're probably gonna have a lot of merge conflicts, all right? Especially if you're building a big feature on this branch, and then after a month or so, your branch is getting merged, and then you're gonna have to resolve all these merge conflicts, okay? This is kind of against the continuous integration where we're continuously trying to release the application maybe several times a day, as Facebook or Meta or Google does it. Now, as you know, most of these big companies, like FAANG companies, they do use trunk-based development. For example, Meta specifically does use it, and they're kind of not afraid of pushing bugs into the production, because they know that if they're releasing many times during the day, they can actually come and make just another commit on top of the bug and then fix it. Okay, well, it's not that straightforward though. If you do go for trunk-based development, there are some things that you really need to consider. First of all, you have to trust your team and developers, okay? It's not like you're having an open source project, because trunk-based development is not going to work for open source projects, because there are too many people in the open source projects, and you basically don't know these people and you don't trust these people. So they can pretty much push anything to your main branch, and then you're basically screwed up. So the trunk-based development is good for normal sized teams within some kind of a company, or maybe within a startup that you really trust. First of all, you know that they are going to keep the quality standard, and if they have any doubts, then they will always turn to the team and discuss any design decisions, okay? The second thing is seniority of developers, all right? Whenever you're doing trunk-based development, it's always good to make sure that your developers are senior, all right? With junior developers, if you have junior developers in your team, it's good to let them do pull requests so that you can actually review and take time, because junior developers are mostly going to be working on smaller tasks, and then you can actually take their time to give them some feedback so that they can grow. Compared to senior developers, like here, you want to give these senior developers, like seasoned developers, their autonomy, okay? Autonomy means autonomy of decisions. And if they do, and since you also already trust them, as discussed in the first point, if they have any doubts, they will always turn to you and ask the team, hey, can you please help me? All right, they're seniors, they already know what's best, more or less. Okay, so the next thing you also need to make sure is that you have automated tests, okay? Very good automated tests. I'm talking about unit tests, first of all. I'm also talking about integration tests, where, for example, if you're working on a backend, you know that integration tests are actually going to create an instance of a database, like a fake one, and then make a request to that database. All right. On the front end, it can be actually system tests where you make the actual request to the server and not mock them on the front end. It can also be snapshot tests, like literally taking a snapshot of the UI. And last but not least, it can also be just E2E tests. E2E tests basically that are going to follow the user journey. Okay. E2E tests are also very good for trunk-based development. Now, all the things that you saw here, it's actually the best practice for continuous integration, because without these, you shouldn't be able to release. Okay. Now, many teams that already have all these set up and they have senior developers and they're not an open source project, you have no excuses for not going for trunk-based development. Okay. If everything is set up and you know that if a developer makes a mistake and pushes directly to main and something fails, some test fails, you will catch it right away, because not only that you have all these tests, but you also have a very good coverage. This is also something that you need to make sure, okay? You have a very good coverage. You do maybe TDD, so test-driven development. Every time you write a new function or a feature, you actually write a test for it so that you know that your use cases are very well covered, okay? And after that, you're free. You're free to merge to main, okay? And as soon as you merge to main, you are basically fulfilling your goal as a CI, for a continuous integration. Now, going back again to the Git flow, where we still make merge requests and so on, can you see how much overhead this is? Like, this is already against the lean principles. This is too much overhead, and as a lean team, we actually want to reduce the overhead. Of course, this doesn't mean that you cannot create long-living branches. For example, if you still do trunk-based development, every time you do a release, you can still create kind of a snapshot of this release at every point of time. So let's say you do a release every day, or like a major release, maybe not a patch release. Every time you do a major release with a big feature, you create a branch that is going to be living for a long time. And every time you want to come to this release and make a change, you can just work on this branch. I hope this, guys, was good enough for you, good enough explanation for you, and that you are actually not against trunk-based development, because trunk-based development is great for startups, okay? It's great for startups because you really don't want to waste time dealing with merge requests. And if you are a startup, basically a small team of very senior developers, you can start away with pushing to main right away. You don't have to check or make a pull request for every single change, okay? While the Git flow is good for open source projects, okay? Open source projects are also good. Also, Git flow is good for outsourcing. So if you have a team and a product that you previously worked on, but now you want to outsource this product to some kind of an external team within your company, but you don't know these people and you don't trust in a professional way, it's good to let them make pull requests so one of your team members can actually check their work, okay? But otherwise, I would really suggest going for trunk-based development. One thing that I actually forgot to mention, trunk-based development also facilitates the knowledge transfer. Why? Here's a good question, why? Because usually it's recommended to do pair programming with trunk-based development, meaning you don't push to main alone, okay? You can actually push to main by having someone in the call together with you or working alongside with you so that you automatically have your code reviewed, okay? So if two people are working on the same problem and it's kind of their sparring partner, right? The code review is done automatically, and then you can push to main without any further code reviews, meaning two senior developers actually sat down and worked on the same problem. The chances are high that the code is good quality. And if you don't do pair programming, which is totally fine, if you still do push alone or to the main branch, you still can have a code review, okay? So imagine a Jira board where we have different columns like active, reviewed, done, and so on. You can still put this ticket to the reviewed column and let someone review your commit, because they can always find the commit maybe by their name, by their hashtag which is connected to the particular story. And then they can still do a review, but still we don't have any branching, which is great, okay? We're still managed to reduce the overhead. I hope this was informative for you guys. If you did like this video, or if you have an opinion, let me know it down in the comments below, but still consider everything that I said so that it doesn't end up in a trash talk. I hope you know what I mean. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next video, and goodbye.